What's up, everybody? Pastor Matt. Thanks for checking into the YouTube channel. Hey, today we're going to talk about a great question. I get it all the time. This must be one that people are constantly wrangling with in their minds. The question has to do with, what do you do when mom and dad, or just mom or just dad, wants to go to this particular church, but their kids or their teenagers want to go to that particular church over there? Most of the time, the question comes to me in sort of this form, and I'm just going to paraphrase a bunch of different emails I've got over the years. They all ask essentially the same question, and we're going to try to tackle it today. The question is something like this. I really want to go to a solid, Reformed, Bible-believing church with a real liturgy, solemn worship, and expository preaching. However, that particular church that I want to go to does not seem to have the youth or the children's program that my kids want. My kids want to go to a different church, and they're not happy, and they're fussy, and they whimper, and they complain if we don't go to the cool hipster church. So parents, what do you do? Are you in a bind there? How are you going to resolve that dilemma? Well, we're going to talk about that today in just a moment. I want to thank you for checking in. My name is Matthew Everhard. I'm the pastor of Gospel Fellowship PCA. We are one of those Reformed Bible-believing churches just north of Pittsburgh here, so you may already know which direction my answer is going to go. But I did want to tell you, we have a couple of news items here at Gospel Fellowship. First of all, our recent theological conference, The Image of God, just went off without a hitch last weekend. It was amazing. We had all kinds of great talks and lectures and sermons on the topic of human gender and sexuality. We had a number of my colleagues from the Reformed Presbyterian Theological Seminary, RPTS, came up to give lectures. We did lectures on the image of God as a foundational doctrine. We looked at the law of God from the Old Testament, particularly Leviticus 18. We looked at transgenderism. We considered the topic of pornography, homosexuality, divorce, preaching Christ in a world of chaos, the sermon of yours truly, which is also here on my YouTube channel. And then David O'Leary, my colleague, followed up with an awesome lecture on covenantal sexuality. So all of that is online. Most of it is on the Gospel Fellowship Presbyterian Church channel, my fellow friendly sister channel to this one right here. And on my channel, I already have my own sermon, Preaching Christ in a World of Chaos, which of course I would love for you to check out. Moreover, my book, Souls, How Jesus Saves Sinners, is now out in paperback form. Some of you have told me that you had trouble getting it. I apologize about that. Amazon was a little slow on delivery of the paperback, but if you made a pre-order, you should have it in your hands by now. All of that by way of welcome and digression. Let's take on this topic here. So parents, they ask me this all the time, and I think it comes from a sincere place because look, as a parent, you know, don't you, that you want your children to be raised in the church. I mean, for some of you, that's like the bottom line. Let's do everything we possibly can to get the kid to the church. Let's get them 18 years all the way through. Then they're going to go off to college and do whatever they want. But let's set the bar low. Let's kind of aim low with the least ambitious goal of just keeping the kid happy in church. And to some extent, look, I totally relate to that. I can congratulate you on holding that view. Of course, your child should be in church, especially if you're a Christian family. What would you be doing if you weren't part of a local Bible-believing church? I mean, look, the world is crazy off the chain. Listen to my message, Preaching Christ in a World of Chaos. The world is crazy off the chain. It is chaotic. It is furiously frustrating. Whether they go to the public schools, even private schools, whether they're going to go to a Christian university, a secular university, man, they're going to get all kinds of diet of critical race theory and wokeism and Marxism and all of these other isms, secularism, atheism. It's a dangerous place to have a mind in this world, and raising children in a dangerous place for minds is an unhappy challenge and adventure for all of us. Look, there's so much riding on the line here. We do have to have our kids in church. And as much as I appreciate parents who say, we've got to go to that entertainment model church because that's where my kid's going to be happy, I have to tell you I totally disagree with that. And I would tell you this. It is far better to just pick and stay committed to that Reformed, Bible-believing, confessional, real worship type church than to throw your kids into a worship-tainment model where over 18 years, let's say you're even successful, and getting your kid to go to church for those 18 years. But what are they going to get there? What kind of a diet of teaching are they going to get? Is that diet really going to be able to counteract that 20,000 hours of screen time that they get every couple of years? I don't know what the statistics are. I just made that up. But you know what I mean? There was so much screen time, the phone time, the movie time, the tablet time. Even in the classroom, what do? They roll down the screen. The last thing I would ever want to do is go to a worshiptainment model church where that's what they're going to do again. I heard recently that there's a phenomenon of sermon series is called The Church Goes to the Movies, in which pastors talk about current movies and try to glean spiritual themes from them. Garbage, I say. You can disagree with me if you want to. Go ahead and do so vociferously in the comments, but I think that is not good. That is not going to be helpful. Here's what I would say to you that you ought to do, parents. Totally reject the worshiptainment model and plug your whole family, just completely dive in to a real Bible-believing, expository preaching church with reformed and confessional convictions, and do everything. Go to the funerals, go to the weddings, go to the potlucks, take your kids to the widow's house and help her fix her fence or rake her yard. Do all of that stuff. Go to the preachings, go to the Bible studies, take your kids on hospital visits with you. Throw yourself into church, even if it's small, even if it's weak according to the standards of this world. It is strong according then to the standards of Christ, if it is taking a real stand on the Word of God. Now you'll say to me this, you'll give me all kinds of reasons why you shouldn't do that. You're going to say, yeah, but wait a minute. In the other church, their pastor dressed up like a stormtrooper for Star Wars Day. How can I resist that? Don't fall for it. You're going to say, wait a second, but the youth pastor's fighting a tiger tonight at youth group. Don't fall for that. You're going to say, wait a second, they installed a zip line in the youth room. Don't fall for it, man. You're going to say, there's a bouncy house in the sanctuary there. Don't fall for it. All of that stuff is so much spiritual garbage, and in fact, what it's actually going to do is to contribute to the diminishment of your child's faith over the years. And you say to me, but can I simply drop them off at the other church's youth group, and then me and my wife or whatever, we'll go to the other church, the real church, let's call it. Again, I say, no, don't do that. The most important priority that you can possibly have is that your family would worship together on the Lord's Day. I have seen this about 1,000 times, and I have to tell you, it always causes my heart to shrink within me when parents will drop off their children to one church because the youth group is far more dynamic. It's I don't know, sci-fi night or clown night or whatever it is. And you, honestly, a lot of that stuff is now taking place on the Lord's Day morning. Crazy stuff happening in churches all the time, man. I cannot say that that would be the right thing to do, is to split your family and go to different worship services when you could be sitting together on the Lord's Day. So here's what I would tell you to do. Okay, you say, but my kid needs to have fun. Granted, kid needs to have fun. Put your kid in a soccer league. Put your kid on the chess team or the debate club. Let your kid be a part of the school play. But they don't need to be entertained when it comes to church. When it comes to church, what they really need is catechesis. They need to be raised in the doctrinal truths of the faith. They need to experience the real fellowship of a communing church together, which means that they're going to be raised to come to the table of the Lord's Supper, that they're going to be baptized in the name of Christ and instructed and taught in the ways of the Lord, that you're going to have family devotions, you're going to have private devotions. All of these things are going to be necessary because, look, you're going to need every spiritual resource at your side to counteract the incredible gravitational pull of this world. It is like a black hole. The gravitational power of the unbelieving world to suck your child into it is unconscionably strong. And the last thing that you need to do as a Christian parent is to subject your child to 18 years worth of the lowest common denominator of spiritual nourishment that you can find, just because the youth pastor is going to swallow a goldfish tonight at youth group, or he's going to fight a tiger, or whatever. He's going to ride a motorcycle through the youth room. I actually saw a video like that online. Parents, here's what you need to do. Listen to me. Look me in the eye here. Make the right decision for the sake of your family. Throw off the worshiptainment model entirely. Throw it off entirely and get your family, all of you, in a Bible-believing, expository, preaching, catechetically strong, doctrinally founded church. Raise them there, don't leave it. And at the end of those 18, 20 years or whatever, you will have done the very best that a parent can possibly do. Thank you so much for checking into the channel. Do love you lots, and we'll talk to you later.